Well, we're rolling, but that doesn't mean we have to say anything good. This is E.B. Sollis.
Hi, Van.
Tell the people what you do. And then I'll tell them what you do.
Yeah. You do it. I feel like less pretentious doing that. I get too long-winded.
Yeah, the other day you said like creative director is a term that's thrown around too like liberally, but to me like it's such a when I hear that I know exactly kind of what the person does, and I'd say that you are like a black belt creative director. And the way we work together is you have like big picture ideas of what the channel should do, what I should do. And then you also have this knack for being able to sort of identify what the thing is, like what the person's thing is. You know what I mean?
I try, I try and like, thank you for saying that. Like first and foremost, because I think it's understood by you, but like I didn't even know what that role meant. I didn't even know what that was until somebody who I met a long time ago told me that she was a creative director. And I was like, what does that mean? And she described all these things that she did for music artists that she was working for at the time. And I was like, wait, there's a name for that? Like there's like a thing that people call themselves to do that? Because I worked as a songwriter for so long, and I basically would sort of, I don't want to get roped into it because it sounds like I wasn't down to do the thing, but I would end up doing like 1,000 things beyond just songwriting for artists that I worked with because I liked communicating. I liked doing stuff visually. I liked doing clothes. I just loved participating in the creative process. And when she told me she did that and that was her job, I was like, wait a fucking second, hold on. Like, maybe I need to like take a step back. And
did she do it for musicians too? Or?
She did. She was doing it for this rapper who I met. And like, I think she had an agency. Yeah, she definitely had an agency with another girl who I know. And I was sitting down and sort of like listening to this conversation that she was having. And I was like, this is insane that like this person gets paid money to do this. And this is her job because I've been doing this for free for so long. Yeah. Like, but no one ever sort of like handed me a map and was like, do this, call yourself this, like brand and identify yourself this way. And then like, you'll pave a path. So I sort of kind of just like had to figure it out on my own, but that's good because I feel like I didn't get ahead of myself. And I was so scared to call myself that because I thought it was such an ambitious title, and like lots of people throw it around. Yeah. And I don't know if like it means to me what I think like it should mean. Like if somebody says that, I'm like, wow, you must be like amazing.
Oh, what does it mean to you?
I feel like artists and filmmakers and music makers and people who really have like a bottom line, which is like get the project done. Right. Yeah. Don't always have the bandwidth to sort of like put the like mind power behind other stuff that you sort of naturally have to like tackle as you make a project, social media, merchandising, finding and creating a language with which you and nobody else like communicates to your fans with, like having that like unique voice that is like only you. And like that takes mad work, like that's not just something I feel like you can think about cosmetically and then like get into it. It's something that requires a lot of thought, a lot of trial and error, and like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So for people who are just like I'm a creative director, like I think it means like one thing in internet culture. And like in reality, like it's sort of like a gargantuan thing to like say that you do, and I'm still super shy about saying it because like I don't know really how to advertise.
Isn't Anna Wintour? Isn't that her title?
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. So like you think of people like that, fuck. And you're like, you're like, whoa,
or like Martha Stewart is like a creator. It's like, well, yeah,
and like. You throw that around and you're like, wow, people who've had that title in the past like are certainly like touched, you know what I mean? I feel like you earn that, you know what I mean? And you earn that through lots of failure and like lots of attempts, and it's just not as easy as calling yourself that. And like I worked in enough creative situations in my life where I felt like, I don't know, like I was a professional songwriter for so long and like sort of felt disenfranchised just with like where I was at emotionally and like using music as a means to an end for my professional life. I sort of like started to wonder what else there was. Like I still make music every day. I'm like on a challenge right now to make like a 30-second thing every day with myself. But I don't think the pressure of having to like meet a quota or turn something in does anything good for the music that you're making. At least not for like the music that I was making. Like I sort of would like rush to get it done. Like if I had to turn in 4 songs, I'd turn in like 1.5 that were good, you know? And then the other 2 would just be like shitty. Yeah. So
I wonder if it's good or not. If it's a good thing to have. I think it's either like John Baldessari or Ed Ruscha, one of that class of LA artists said that. Oh no, it might have been Frank Gehry. I don't remember. Said that artists understand 2 criteria: budget and deadline.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, you know, my brother doing his thing, like one of these videos a day. Like, oh my fucking God. There's like one person who can do that.
I said that to somebody the other day, and I was like,
but does it make the thing better? Yes, it does. And it also makes it worse, maybe.
But you also get stronger over time, you know? I think like at least with like setting like goals and boundaries for myself recently, what I found is like whether or not I end up making this like insane thing that like everybody fucks with, like I end up like going through the trial and error and like doing something over and over and over and over again. And like just naturally, like you get better, you get more precise, you get quicker. And like if somebody hands you something totally out of left field that sort of maybe has something to do with the thing you're doing, you're gonna like blow their minds with how fast you can sort of like make it happen because your brain's already in that headspace. You know what I mean? And for Casey, I'm sure at a certain point, like, and I don't want to like say anything like out of turn, but I'm sure there was like a rhythm to it that like when you walk in a certain room and like hit the lights and sit down in your chair, you just go into like not autopilot, but like, you know, dudes who've been flying planes for so long, like I don't think they get scared when they're like taking off and landing the plane.
But it's not creative. It's different. It's like because the thing that's hidden with videos, basically videos that people like, the thing that is hidden is that there is an idea that goes through the video. If it's a good one, there's like a conduit that goes through the video that you don't even see, might not even be mentioned, but that's the idea that pulls the video through your interest. That's why you're watching. And that thing, like coming up with that spinal cord, like on a regular basis is incredibly taxing. It's really like, I just did this video on Friday. It was the one about the dangerous toys for X. And that there was like so many different ways to do that. And then the through line was, you know, is this bad parenthood or is this bad parenting or something? You know what I mean? Or is this kid going to get hurt? It was like this, you know, you know, sitting down, cause like, sitting down, flying a plane. Cause I have a brother who does that, you know, and like sitting down and flying a plane, it's just not, it's different. Like that creative muscle to just leverage. Like I get really furious sometimes when it's the end of the week and I've just been frying my brain with just ideas and choices, and I have to make a fucking meal, and I go up there and there isn't like leftovers or something, and I have like, here I am again, just raw materials, and I have to fucking make something in 10 minutes that's a cohesive, has a through line, and that I'm going to eat. And it's the fatigue of the exercise, I think.
Damn, that was but that's like a crazy, weird. I don't think I've ever talked to somebody about that before. Like, okay, great, you're like on this like quest to make something awesome every week, right? Like, what happens if you run out of toilet paper? Like, what happens when you go to the bank and like you realize that you have to replace your debit card because like it's expired, and like other shit sort of,
oh my God,
other shit gets affected by like that intense focus. And like, I think, I don't know, maybe this is like I'm not going to use like the word spiritual because I feel like a huge fucking cheeseball saying it, but like I think it's really important for me to like step away from things more moving forward, because I think like I was talking.
What do you mean step away from things?
I was talking to a homie of mine recently. He's a artist, a music artist, and like he's just like basically like broken every bone in his body putting this record out.
Yeah.
That he's like, I mean, like figuratively speaking, but he's really killed himself to make this record, and it's fucking sick. And like, we were talking about these like deep, like kind of like K-holes you go into when you create, you know what I mean? And like actually like, it's kind of like some real like mad scientist shit to like say to another person, but like that's actually when I feel like sometimes I'm most happy, you know what I mean? Or like most like myself when I'm like so in it, and like ideas come, like sometimes I'll go down like other like K-holes of the K-holes, and like if I tried to explain it to somebody or like put words to it, they would be like, yo, lock him up and throw away the key. What the fuck is this dude talking about? So I don't know if those like monster sessions that I used to sort of like arduously put myself through are doing me the good I think they are anymore. Yeah. You know, because I listened to this thing about, I don't know if you listened to the audiobook of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That like it's amazing.
Does Tarantino do the voice?
Jennifer Jason Leigh does the voice,
cool.
And she's kind of like, this is no shade to her, but like she does like a lot of like bad, like almost like I guess he like hired her to do it because maybe it seems like campy or something, but like she does like a southern accent a lot, and it's like not that awesome, which makes it so tight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like bad on purpose, and she's like stick him up, shoot the guy, you know, and like it just sounds like her doing a bad southern accent. I'm getting distracted. The feat that this dude had. I asked you about the Dennis Wilson like Manson murder thing. I learned about that in the book. Like his audiobook of the movie is like a full class on popular culture in that 1 year of Southern California. And like he goes back and explains the whole story of the TV show that Rick Dalton is on, not Bounty Law, but the one he's like the guest star on. And like every character has a backstory, and like halfway through you're just like, fuck, how did this guy just like think about all this, right? And so I was like kind of on a quest to be like, what's his writing process like? Like, what does he do? And he said that he spent a lot of time sort of like doing what other writers do, like sitting at bars, like with a laptop, like just like going. But like recently what he's been doing is like he has this very like measured amount of time where he like picks up the task and then like he puts it down and he gets into his swimming pool and he just like floats every day when he's done. And it sounds like amazing.
Same with Dr. Nakamatsu. Keep going.
No, just like he takes that break and he's like at 6 p.m. or whatever the time is. I can't remember. He's like, I'm done. I'm done for the day. Like, that's it. Yep. And he says he likes to get to a place where he allows himself to finish the final thought. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever the immediate thought is, whatever that one last thing he's working on is, like he'll like finish that, but like no new thoughts after that, you know? And I was like, maybe that's actually a more successful way of doing things, because sometimes I can probably go for like a good 3 or 4 days straight with just like making stuff, but I'm fucked after that. And other stuff gets affected. You know what I mean? Like I don't go exercise. Like I don't do other things that like make me feel good. Yep. Like I don't eat regularly, and then I'm starving and I wonder why I'm so fucking agitated by everything, and it's because I haven't like put food in my body, you know, and like I'm not hydrating, like whatever it is. And like, why is it maybe it's the New York thing that was like beaten into our head, where it's like grind or die, like no off days, whatever internet shit people say. But like I don't know, somehow I believed that was like a good thing to do to myself for a really long time. Now I'm second guessing it.
Yeah, I think it's an age thing. You're from New York City, which is like the great E.B. White wrote a story called Here is New York. And it's about, there's the people like you who are from New York City. there are the commuters who come in every day for work, and then there are the people like me who like emigrate or migrate, who move to New York City. And I always wonder, like when I would come back from trips into New York City, like I come back from Europe where, you know, it's very, I would just say easy to be alive in Europe, or from the country or something, and like that New York, like I got to do this, I got to do this, like the first thing is like, okay, is my Easy Pass paid? And then it's like as soon as you get in, it's like parking. Okay, there's a spot here, and I know that I saw the meter maid up there, and I know I have like 10 minutes. I got to get the thing up. Keys, and I'm wondering, like, if you're from here and you come home from Europe or whatever, are you like, I'm home? Because I never had that sensation. And I wonder, like, because you got one thing I point out to people, because there's the New York stereotype that is from people who they call them bridge and tunnel. They're the people who come in on the weekends and party. And it's like this really pushy, aggressive, super fast moving. The kids that I know, and most of the friends I made in New York were from New York. They're slow. They go through New York slow. They use the efficiency of New York and the resources of New York to go slow. And I just wonder, like, another thing about New York kids is when you put them in another place, generally speaking, they try to make it New York, or they have a problem with it not being New York. Do you know what I mean?
I think I feel like I'm most New York when I'm not there.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But when I would take trips out here, from probably like, I don't know, 22, 23 on, I would come back and I would miss this place. And like people, like my friends from New York will shit on me for saying this, but like I knew where I wanted to live. And I think I knew that when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? Like I live 3 blocks away now from like where all the Dogtown and Z-Boys stuff was invented. And when that movie was at Angelica, I think I went to go see it in the movie theaters like 5 times. Like I didn't even skate like that, but I really felt like there was just something super cool about it. I loved it. Like and I can't explain it. I don't like explaining it. I really, really liked it. When I get obsessed with things, it's criminal, you know? And like I kept on going back to the movie theater and watching it over again. And I was like, I want to specifically live in Ocean Park, California, like near where this happened. And like, I'm super lucky. Like,
I can't believe
I ended up
you're
here.
right there.
Like,
that's another thing about New York kids. Generally speaking, they are such great closers. Like the kids I know from New York are, generally speaking, and although I've had a filtration system of the kids that like I got exposed, and I say kids, they're all in their 40s now. But, you know, the Safdies, the Red Bucket kids like Sam Lysenko and Alex Kalman, you know, these born and bred, you know, Lena Dunham, born and bred, SIBO. They're so good at getting things done. Like I've been to Japan did I go to Japan with Sam Lysenko? I feel like I was in Japan, in Tokyo, with Sam Lysenko for some reason. Is that possible? Or maybe we were just talking about Tokyo and he just like knew the subway system. He like looked at the map and then he was just like, okay, come on, it's the red line of the and it's Tokyo because it just translated. You know, it was modeled on the New York subway system. So
I give him props for that because like, I would say until I was an intern at Broadway Video when I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah. And like
that's another thing. You guys have like incredible resources because it's New York.
I was super lucky, and like my mom had a friend of a friend who, you know, and I thought I think I told you the story, but I thought I was gonna be working at Saturday Night Live, and like that was not the case. I spent the entire summer laminating menus and sanitizing dishes in a kitchen at Broadway Video. I'd like peek my head out and like see some people sometimes, but like I told you, I went into an editing session and I didn't know the rules, you know? And like they were putting a song in this pay-per-view trailer for the movie Varsity Blues. And I was like, that's not the song you want to use. And the woman in there was like, can I speak to you for a second? And you know, I was really lucky. Like, I left with like all my teeth because she was tight. Like, she was not. She was like, "What the fuck are you thinking, dude?"
Yeah.
Like, we could have all gotten like fired in this situation. I was like, hands up. You know, I was like, I don't know. Like, you invited me in here.
Yeah.
I was eating grilled cheese. I felt kind of important. You know what I mean? But like, I learned really quickly to sort of like not speak when spoken to, but like, yo, people are doing shit here. You know what I mean? And like, the very first day I went there, I had to take the N and the R, and I got on the wrong train. I went to Queens by accident. I called this woman who I was working for. I was so shook. I was like, "Hey, this is CB Sollis, and I took the wrong train." She's like, "Don't worry, it's all good."
Meanwhile, you could have fucking walked.
True.
Where were you from? Were you
from 81st and Lex?
Oh, okay, that's kind of far. All right.
But also, like, the subway was fucking dangerous when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
I remember my friend Tom. He had like borrowed this like jacket I had, and he called me up the next day, and he was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I got robbed on the train last night." And this was at fucking Astor Place too. This is not like, he wasn't going to Bushwick or wherever like people are at now. I'm so out of touch with like what's actually popping there, but like, this is at fucking Astor Place. You know what I mean? Which is like, I don't know, I feel like it's still like one of the nicest neighborhoods like downtown, like in the city.
It's like the nexus of the East and West, or Greenwich Village and the East Village, and you're like a few blocks above.
You used
like
to be able to smoke
Soho.
cigarettes in the subway when I was in high school. Like, that's something I like vividly remember doing, like smoking a cigarette. And then I got in like big trouble for it one time, and like thought I was gonna get arrested or whatever. But like, it was just different. You know what I mean? Like, I knew my line, you know, and I knew the West Side line that was like the same as the 6, but like on the West Side. But like, deep trains, like the J train and all stuff like that, like going out towards like Marcy, like I didn't know any of that shit until I had to, because cabs were so fucking cheap back in the day too.
Oh
dude.
yeah, I never took cabs.
They were
never
so
less than
cheap.
once a month where I take a cab in New York. So it was all bicycle and subway, which was basically, by the time I left New York, it was basically non-functional. Like, if you were going and you had to make a transfer, something was broken.
Yeah.
Oh, the NR, and then you would go and they'd have all the service changes on poster, like 11 by 17 inch posters, and it would be an entire wall of the subway station, and it would be every single train line, and each one has this much, like what you're supposed to do. And they're lucky because New Yorkers are so fucking intelligent that like a New Yorker can like read all that and then understand all the buses and alternative routes and shit they had to make. But yeah, I think Malcolm Gladwell, in like either one of his books or one of his podcasts, he talks about how there's two kinds of artists. There's the Picasso artists who can just Picasso made 60,000 pieces in his lifetime. That is 3 pieces a day for 60 years. That's how prolific he was. And then he said there's Picasso, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember who the other one was, but it was like, maybe it was Matisse or Cézanne. It might have been Cézanne, who would like paint the same damn thing 100 times and throw 99 away. And I think that, I don't know, there's just two different things. There's the fast people and the slow people. And like, someone wrote in, I do the live casts for the Patreon.
Yeah.
And Isabel, last time, she like sat over there and then like kept track of really good questions, and I missed one of them. And someone wrote in asking about that I'm very story centric and writing centric when I talk about the process of making these videos, and then what was my opinion of like technical virtuosity in cameras and in the other work. And I wrestled with that question a lot. It's like, well, you can get away with just the story, but you can't get away with, no matter how good the footage, well, to a certain extent, no matter how good the footage is, you just can't get away with it. You just can't get away with great cinematic footage and no story, but you can get the other way around. And so in this, whatever this YouTube genre, it's like trying to balance that, what am I doing? And I'm amazed with some people that post every week, and they have like Mr. Beast, they have these really elaborate productions with like that Hollywood couldn't do for the budget he's doing, you know. So that's part of why this podcast or whatever this thing is exists, is so that I can have another thing like the podcast itself, and then talk to whoever the guest is about, okay, what should I do for the next one, or what should I do for the next big one? It's the like first Friday of the month is the one that's like I call it the big one, but you probably can't tell the difference between that one.
Dude,
and
I think there's nothing you put your effort to, and like I remember meeting you and Casey for the first time, and it must have been Sibo who brought me to your office. I feel like or maybe it was Bobby, but like the very first time I went there, like something happened. You know, you let us like make a song for the HBO show, and like that was actually like a crazy thing. Like the guy who was in my band, Eric Broberg, who's a guitar player, was like super ripped, and like you guys had the gymnastics rings hanging down from the ceiling. And I don't remember if it was you or Case, but you were like, you got to do like a challenge to like get on the show. And he like did this iron cross thing. I didn't know this dude could do
the muscle up. Yeah.
And you guys were like, great, you can do a song for the show. And we made it on a sitar at his apartment in Battery Park. And I think it must have been like an actual, like, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 calendar years later, but I do remember I was playing a show in Charleston, South Carolina, and I got a call from your brother. And he was like, hey, I need you to like submit all the paperwork for this song in like the next half an hour. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? Like I'm in a van right now. You know what I mean? Like, and he was like, that's it. Like, it's got to be done in the next half an hour. If
HBO is so
you can find a fax machine,
yeah,
we're good to go. If not, it's not going to make it. And I was like, fuck. So I knew these 2 kids who went to the College of Charleston. One of them had booked us to play. His girlfriend, this girl Paige, she worked at an office as an intern that like had a fax machine, and like somehow I emailed her the document, and like we printed it out and faxed it to your brother, and like we got on, but like in classic fashion, like it was like such an adventure, you know? Yeah. And like I don't think there's anything that you do or that your brother does that like I've ever like. How many people do you just like look at shit after a while and you're like, they kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like they lost a little bit of their steam, and like I never have ever felt that way about you guys. Like whether it's big or whether it's small with you, like you're fucking touched, dude. Like whatever you make, like I will be a fan forever, because the stuff that you make has I don't think anyone else can do what you can do. And I can't say that about many people that I know who make stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's so weird because it doesn't feel like that.
Of course.
It feels so crazy that it sort of feels like it's not, it feels like either I'm doing something I've done thousands of these little things. I'm doing something wrong. Like there's something not quite right, or there's like this, it's not, no, that's okay. Let's just get it done. That essence is in there, but it's nice to hear from, outside people, because it's all just done in here. It's all like a vacuum. And the COVID thing, and then like not having a comfortable enough financial resources to go on like big worthwhile adventures has sort of kept me in this canyon, really.
Yeah.
Which is fine because it's super photogenic and I can really, but a lot of the stuff we leveraged with the HBO show, and a lot of things that like a lot of YouTubers and my brother leverage, is like going out into the world. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to happen soon.
Dude, I'm sure it's going to happen for you, because I feel like there's like the internet has only been getting to know you for a year, and like what's being defined in real time, and like what the perception of everything that you're doing is like still being figured out. You're still figuring it out. Your fans are still figuring it out.
Part of your role too is like, what am I? what the fuck is going on here? And it's weird because I think a lot of us, our ambition was we want to go into cinema.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like the farm leagues for cinema. That's gone from my mind. Like if I go into cinema, I make a feature film or something, it will be a coincidence. Yeah. It'll be a hobby. Yeah. It'll be something where like I don't need to do it for the paycheck. It is like some hobby thing that I'm doing because I think for this era, I think this is it's just a more accessible and free paradigm. And it's also scarier. And I love that about it because, you know, if you make a movie, you're going to get the budget and then you're going to make the movie. And in that budget, you're going to carve out, you know, your fee and all that stuff. And it's going to be, but with this, you just have to be like, well, hope everybody likes it or else that nothing will happen.
Yeah, but that's good.
No. I think it is good.
That.
I think that's why I think, this time it's really, and it's still in the process of being defined. Yeah. Like 2016 was like a big, I feel like that's when Rogan got really big. That's when I started listening to Rogan.
It's weird that you bring up that. I've been thinking about that year a lot recently. Yeah. Because it was the year that,
it was also Trump.
It was Trump. It was also this weird year that, like, music shifted, like, so drastically in this way that, like, internet kids sort of became more significant, like, than people who are really good at making music. And it broke the mold.
Is that like when Travis Scott? I feel like those guys figured it out, man.
It was Travis Scott. It was Lil Yachty. It was like all these people. And I feel like they just sort of did what they did without like apologizing for it. You know what I mean? I remember showing somebody one of Yachty's videos who, like, was a dude who grew up, like, listening to Mobb Deep. And I was like, I really like this. What do you think about this? And he got so angry that he, like, left my brother's apartment. He was like, this is disgraceful. Like, this isn't what I signed up for. And I was like, wow, this is tight. This is, like, super polarizing. You know what I mean? Like, he fucking hates this, which means that other people are going to love it.
I don't know Lil Yachty, but is he trap? What's his genre?
He like sings. He like does things in a major key, and there's like lots of like flutes and recorder. It sort of sounds like Peter Pan and like rap music had a baby in this way, but like it just didn't sound like Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like Onyx. It didn't sound like Mobb Deep. Like it was super soft around the edges, and that really like fucked with people. And that was a year I feel like everybody who is like, yo, either shit or get off the pot. You know what I mean? Like, this is happening. And I feel like with a lot of people I know who sort of like, you know, they're like my age, like in their like late 30s, like that's when they started to like get old. You know what I'm saying? Like it was that moment. And like, I don't know. I always feel like I'm so fascinated by people making stuff, especially polarizing stuff, especially like stuff that's hard for me to understand. Like the pills that are harder to swallow always like make me grow. You know, and like in 2016, I don't know, that was like the year that broke everything. You know what I mean? I look back at that and I was like, wow, that seems like a turning point where like 1971 was a turning point. And like, I don't know, 1994 was like a year I really remember in my head. It was the first like show I ever went to, you know, but like.
Wait, what year?
1994.
94. God, to me, these are insignificant years that I don't remember at all. I guess 1994 was... Oh my God, it's like my sophomore year in college, I guess. I don't know.
World Cup. I went to Woodstock 94 with my dad. It was the first concert I'd ever been to. I saw Nine Inch Nails. I saw George Clinton. I saw like Green Day, I feel like, before they were like super successful, and like nobody was allowed to go. You know what I mean? And like people were up in arms that my dad brought me to this, and he knew how important it was to me. And like, I don't know. That was a year that like I feel like lots of things sort of seemed real or like alive or like whatever, you know? And be totally honest with you, I don't even remember why we started talking about 2016, but like...
Well, I was saying that's when... Well, I think that there's like YouTube went from... It had this... Like Casey was ahead of the curve with YouTube because it was like this cat video thing. It was like a phenomenon platform. Like I caught this thing that's crazy and that's what went viral. Yeah. And then like their monetization infrastructure hadn't been set up so that you could jump in and have a job basically doing it. And then I don't know what year it was, but AT&T hired Werner Herzog to do this like documentary about texting and driving, and I think it was called It Can Wait, maybe? I can't remember the exact title, and I remember him talking about it, and he's like, YouTube is for cat videos, but it's... And then he talked about the potential of it, and he made this incredible thing, and it was released on YouTube. So there was that, and then I I had to do a lot of work on my motorcycle, and I was in the garage just like tearing it to pieces, and it was a lot of labor time. And so I just put headphones in and would listen to Mark Maron. And then somehow, I don't know why I was on YouTube, but I saw like Joe Rogan, he was talking about Conor McGregor, and I didn't know who that was. I don't know why, but I listened to it, and then, you know, you start getting them in your feed, and it was like he had all these 3-hour podcasts and all these incredibly fascinating people on his podcast, and it was like a new thing. No one had ever done 3-hour interviews ever anywhere. You know?
I'm trying to think of the first one I listened to.
Documentaries. There was all right. So the podcast, I would say, was invented by like Ira Glass and This American Life. That's what everyone's that's the gold standard, right? But then there was this film that Scorsese made, and it was called American Boy. Have you ever seen this?
No, but I feel like I watched the trailer like a bunch of times and never ended up seeing it.
It was impossible to get. I can't remember why. But
wait, is this something I could have seen the trailer for? Am I bugging?
Maybe by now.
Okay.
But when it was like, when I saw it, it was Sean McPherson, who owns he owns a bunch of hotels in New York. He owns the Bowery Hotel and Maritime Hotel. His partner is Eric Good, who's the director who made Tiger King. He showed me Tiger King at his conservatory while it was being filmed. Yeah. And this was years ago, and he was like, you can't tell anybody about this. He's like, there's attempted murder charges. There's like trials. They're like, this can't get out. And then I just like vaulted it. Yeah. Completely forgot about it. COVID kicked in. I'm clicking through Netflix, and then I see the thing. I'm like, this is Eric's movie. I can talk about it now. But anyway, Sean McPherson, he had on VHS tape, and it was like a tape of a tape of a tape of a tape, which means you had to crank the volume all the way on the TV, plug the headphone jack on the TV into a stereo, crank the volume on that just to be able to hear the dialogue. It was called American Boy. I think it was filmed in one night, but maybe it was 2 nights. And it was Martin Scorsese made it. And it was this guy, and I'm so sorry I don't remember his name, but you can just Google it. And who he is he was the guy in Taxi Driver who sells Travis Bickle the guns. He's like, I got a 44 Magnum right here. This will put a bullet through a ninja block, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Cadillac. You want a Cadillac? I got a Cadillac with pink slips, clear title. This guy is this little guy. And that guy, when he was 17 years old, he was Neil Diamond's tour manager.
Fire.
That's how smart this guy is. And he just sits there on the couch and tells stories, and it's like a feature-length film. I can't remember why it didn't get released. I don't know. There was some technical reason why it didn't release, and that's why I got to see it. It was like such a huge thing to be able to see it on this tape. That's like, let me just say one thing. The Mia Wallace story, in Pulp Fiction, where she gets the adrenaline, and
that's from the movie.
That's his story from real life. Way. That's his story from real life. He was the Vincent Vega in real life. That was in that. And I guess Tarantino must have seen it. But that was like a podcast before the invention of podcasts. And so what my brother did, and then it's like, well, this could be, and the monetization. Oh, you can, if you get enough people, enough eyes, you can make a living out of this thing. You don't need bosses. You don't need, because my cowardice was, well, I want to have a paycheck with some idea, and then I'll make, blah, 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 blah. And there's a form of cowardice or lack of confidence in doing it that way. Dude, and to just jump in and do it.
Your boy just said
Kickstarter is what saved me. What's that?
Your boy in his mantra book. Why can't I think of his name? No, not RZA. The guy, you were like, get this guy's book. He wrote The Art of Seduction.
Green. Robert Greene.
Robert Greene. Yeah. I got his like 366 Laws, and he was just talking about this like the day before last, like in the mantra. Yeah. He was like, what you think is going to be convenient is actually going to limit everything that you ever do. And we were taught by people who were taught by people that this is the way it should be, And I think there's like a lot of unlearning you have to do in this world, like particularly people who like, have gone through like the internet being born, 9/11, like the war, Trump, fucking about to break into the 3D web, and are still like excited about life. Like that is mad shit that we have been through. You know what I mean? Like so many things culturally, and like I feel like we're so open-minded because like we can
the phones we went through. If you're like a 20-year-old kid right now or younger, you've had one phone.
Yeah.
All of your phones have been smartphones with touchscreens.
But your phone also has an identity.
Dozens of phones a year.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, which phone? And then
your phone is
the
part of your
best one
identity
ever was
now,
the
though.
BlackBerry. You reached the BlackBerry, it's like, oh, finally, someone figured it out.
Just discontinued. Did you read this?
And then the iPhone came out and ruined everyone, ruined the world.
I don't know if it ruined the
no,
world,
it didn't.
though.
No. I love to just be dramatic.
No, but I think this is like one of my favorite things about like us reconnecting and like working together now is that like my brain is so like drunk on like cyberspace and like internet stuff, and you are like a portrait of analog that like I think I've looked up to like since I met you
I'm trying to bring a
ago.
trunk of analog shit into the fucking whatever metaverse.
No, but I think
like, well, this is the most I can carry.
I don't know, dude. I actually feel like that's new. You know what I mean? To me, that's interesting because it's like, what if you take this very, traditional form of creating and you put it in a platform where like you can basically do anything. You know what I mean? Like how does it stand on its own 2 feet? How does it walk? And like I'm fascinated by shit like that because like, anyone can be a fucking vape smoking dinosaur on rollerblades, like skating through the metaverse if you so desire. But it's like, how are people going to create there? You know what I mean? Like, what is entertainment going to be? Is it going to be you in some space where like you have a virtual workshop and like you are teaching people how to do things that they can apply to their real life environments? Is it you hosting panels? Is it you talking to people from all over the world, but it's like a digital version of you? Like, I don't know. I'm just like riffing here, but I think it's interesting because it seems so like anti you. You know what I mean? I met this dude a long time ago. This guy, John Travis, I don't know if he'll ever see this, but he was a music producer and he was from London. Yeah. And I was really, really obsessed with the White Stripes when I was making a record with him. And he was like, what wouldn't the White Stripes do? Like, let's listen to Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, let's make you listen to fucking Britney Spears right now. And I was like, what the fuck is this dude on? But like every time we sat down and did it, like something new would happen. You know what I mean? And like you keep on going down the same path forever. And like, even if you make a good thing, like it never changes. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm always fascinated by being like, I don't know, like I basically would bet on you for like anything that requires you to make something. Like my bet's on you. Oh, you know what I mean?
Well, thank you. Well, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
it's hard to take that as like a compliment. But like I'm just, I've been a fan for like, half my life. And like, I really think that like you communicating with people, I feel like your videos now are the way that like, I feel like I used to be able to talk to you back in the day. Like, I feel like I'm just like having a conversation with you when I'm watching the videos. Like I don't know of like any other YouTuber. I feel like where like the relationship between like artist and their subject is like quite as intimate as the one that you have, like, you really let people in, even to the spaces that are like uncomfortable or like sad, and like, that's brave.
It doesn't feel like art. You know what I mean? I feel like art is like a from scratch. I don't know. It's very strange. That word is so strange to me. Also, I did an early episode about it. Maybe it is though. This one, which is his definition of art. Tolstoy's definition of art is so simple. It's just the medium by which the artist translates a feeling onto the audience.
Totally.
And if you can get them to feel the way that you felt, it's art. So who knows? It's up to you.
I took an art history class in college, and this I can't remember her name, but the professor showed 2 slides on the screen on the first day, and one of them was Van Gogh's Starry Night, and then the next one was like a Robert Mapplethorpe like fisting photograph. Yeah. And she was like, both of these things are in a museum. Like, you tell me the difference. And I was like, damn, this is tight. You know, like she's getting the fucking conversation going, but like in the eye of the person who's appreciating the art, like, what does it fucking matter? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I don't think you have to know, though.
Yeah.
That's like the beautiful thing. Like, who cares? You make rad shit, and like, you work really hard at it. There's something to be said for that, you know?
Well, what should this video be about?
Your newest video?
Yeah, well, this will be maybe this will be the first Friday in March video, because the first Friday in February is the one I talked with Gray Gersten, who's also a musician. I talked to him about last one of these. And so the point of me doing these is to exploit my friends for their imaginations, to figure out like a big theme. Because I have the fixing videos that are like small theme videos that are just, and then the big theme videos like sobriety, running would be like a lot of the earlier ones with the big theme videos. I mean, I don't know, like, what am I missing? Like, what are things that I've like touched on, but it's like, no, that thing. Tell me more about that thing. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No. I'm laughing because at one point, like, we had a conversation. You're like, I'm a man in my 40s, and I'm going to tell you something very honest. I hate being wet. I hate swimming. I hate being in the shower. I don't like being wet.
I hate being
wet. I know, which is like super
like
funny. I don't think you should make a video about why you hate being wet.
That's a fucking good idea, though. I'm writing it down.
But I never forget. You were like, I don't know what the fuck I expected you to say, but you're like, can I be honest with you about something? And I was like, sure. I think
I was trying to explain why I don't like surfing.
I think that's exactly what it was. We must have been on the beach. I'm always really fascinated as to whether there's a moment in an artist's career where like that journey from innocence to experience is fully realized. You know, like, was there an exact point when you're like, wait a second, I'm not like a Grom anymore? You know, like,
oh my God.
I know how to do this,
so innocence.
You know, to experience. And I got to just like be fully honest, I didn't really come up with that concept, but I heard it mentioned in a documentary. I think it was the Eagles documentary, and like they were talking about Hotel California, and people were like, what does it mean? Is it a rehab? Is the devil on the cover? And Don Henley was like, it's a song about the journey from innocence to experience. I just got chills when I said that.
Yeah,
Fuck, like
too.
it's like that is like it for like everybody that I love.
I think that's what kills the 27-year-olds. I think it's that they get a foot inside the door of the innocence is over.
And they're like, I don't want this.
And they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's like cosmic and shit. And that whole 27 thing is just some coincidence or whatever. There's probably some mathematical or whatever probability.
It's an anomaly, but I don't think there's anything to it really.
But it's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Why, because, I mean, I could say I know what it was, but I'm not going to talk about it. I won't mention it here, but yeah. But I remember protecting myself with naivete, being naive, like willfully naive, because I knew there was just certain realities that I knew if I knew or admitted, then I wouldn't be able to continue. I mean, it's fucking hard. You really have to delude yourself. You have to delude yourself into these. That's fucking hard to say. It's hard to talk about without sounding like a pretentious asshole, but did you watch the documentary? It was on Netflix. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it came out like around September 11th in 2021, which was the 10-year anniversary, of course. And it was pretty comprehensive. And they talked to a Marine who was in Afghanistan, and he had joined the Marines in like 2009 or something. And it was because of September 11th. Like a lot of people, my youngest brother, I think, joined the Air Force because of the same reason. And he he lost his innocence because he joined, I'm going to fight and I'm going to defend my country. And, that World War II mythology, which was, was real back then. And he says this incredible thing. The story he tells is they were in this little town in Afghanistan and they like built all this infrastructure. Like, I don't know, I'm making this up, but like schools, like a little health clinic, a fucking basketball course, a thing for the girls, water pumps, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I felt like I was really making a difference. And then he said, and then like the Taliban was coming or something and they got the orders and his like captain was like, we have to destroy this entire town. And the kid was just like, it broke his heart.
Yeah.
And he said, to me, it's the most important line of the whole documentary. And he said, he was like, from the rest of my deployment, I thought about what exactly American freedom means. What do people mean when they talk about freedom in America? And he said, and it's the freedom to pretend.
Oh.
You gotta be rich to pretend. That's something you have to have a lot of resources and a lot of elbow room to live pretend and make pretend real. And that's like, I think that's America is like, that's why all of us love America because of that, because you can pretend it and it can come fucking true.
Yeah.
You are free to pretend, but it's not for granted. It's not for nothing. There's a cost to it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think getting sober was probably, for me, was just like facing the music. And I got to say, on the other side, it is not fun. It isn't fun. I don't have fun anymore. I don't. Every once in a while, a little bit of fun. 5 hours a year of fun. And I used to just have fun all fucking day, every day. And then be an insane maniac for certain, like crazy, and also caused harm to people around me. And that's one of the reasons why I grew up and got sober I wanted to stop. And also, I'm relatively new at being a man because I postponed being a man until I was like 37 years old or something. Yeah, but
you're part of now, and I feel like this is interesting because we'll see about with like the Gen Z, evolution. But I think, neither of us went to war, which I feel like did something to like men who didn't go to war. Something happened, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing that happened where like I don't even know if like I would really say like we were allowed to indulge in fantasy. I just think there was more room to do research, know? And some of the things that you've done, and like I say this to you all the time, but like, your prison seems like somebody else's paradise. You know what I mean? And like,
no, I know.
And perspective is an interesting thing. And does life suck sometimes? Like, absolutely. And I think, one great thing about getting sober for me too is like, I think I don't expect life to be. I basically try not to have any expectations anymore. Whether good or bad. Like, I'm a pretty naturally like smiley person anyways.
Yeah.
And I used to be like way too on the optimistic side where like when things would go wrong, I'd be like, wait, what's going on? And like, I don't feel like that anymore. Cause like maybe there was a moment where I want to think about that moment now because I think it might've happened a couple times, but I definitely think we were allowed to sort of explore further into our own desires, like artistically. If you're creative, like, and that, like, that led me to do things like people tell me like would never happen. You know what I mean? And like, I remember my band playing at some ball in like Palm Beach, Florida that like somebody had like hired us to play and we got booed. You know what I mean? And like, if you've ever stood on a stage and gotten booed by people in tuxedos, like that's some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, that really is like, that was one of many like fuck it moments for me where I was like, great, now I could pour a beer on my head. Nothing's going to matter, And like the wheels really fall off. Then you go crazy. But like, I think things happen after that, like as a direct result of like that, like punch to the face. You know what I mean? Like I got to play in some stadiums. It was pretty fucking awesome. Like I got to sell out Bowery Ballroom. Like I got to write a song that like actually like made me money, you know? And like, I don't know if it wasn't for that like struggle or like indulging in it, like whether or not I would have like pushed myself further. What gave you the drive? You guys were the most fucking driven people I had ever met. You and Casey were insane.
It was just survival, man.
The drive was so crazy.
It was just survival, I think. I don't know. It doesn't even, I don't feel it. You know, I don't feel driven. I don't. I have to like look and listen to people and just take an honest look. And it doesn't feel like enough because I look at, it's like, you know, I got a brother. I got a lot of friends in my realm who are some driven sons of bitches and ladies of bitches or whatever they're called. And I mean, also, you know, it's your younger brother. It's weird, you know, the kid, all of that shit. He was also doing Ironman. He was also doing Ironman triathlons. Like some people just do that. Yeah. Ironman triathlons, you know. That is drive. Or if you try to run a marathon, which I have run one, and you get like a shitty time, and like Neve Schulman, he ran. He had on his necklace. He had like his time. I was in Utah with him like in July, and I was like, oh, that's right. You ran like a sub-4 marathon. Like he was like sub-3.
Damn.
And I was like, oh my God, that's impossible. And I don't know if I've said this publicly before, but with Neve, I'm like, God damn it. He's like super fucking smart, super handsome, tall, great dancer. And he can run a fucking sub-3 marathon. That is just not right, man. Just not right. But those guys are driven like everybody. I don't know. It's part of the thing, I think.
There are things though, and I think there's one thing I wanted to touch on before I like lose that thought. And you said that like in America you have the freedom to pretend, and I think one like very unique thing about both of us that we share in common is we have a lot of perspective. We have perspective on middle class, working class, upper class. We've known so many walks of life in our time, and I think even if you have the freedom to pretend and you have everything, there is something on that side of the coin where you're not happy. You know what I mean? I've seen it, and I've like been a shoulder to cry on for people like in that kind of just like, what's the word I'm looking for? In that like, I guess like level of affluence, and like even if you're pretending at a certain point, like, you know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you're never, even if you're fooling everybody else, you know, there's no way for you to fool yourself. Like, you're your own center of gravity, you know? And, like, I think, you know, let's say you get everything tomorrow. You know what I mean? And, like, you're happy for a while. You know what I mean? And, like, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 10 years. But there's going to be a point. I believe this about everyone, not just about you, not just about the people I love, but, like, there is something to that like fight that people have in them, and like a lot of times it's sort of motivated by struggle, but like there's this place where we like identify with ourselves most clearly, and it's when we're like fighting for something, we're like on the journey and in it. And like there's a lot of people I know who I think either didn't have the same dose of that as I did, or like had a very different experience with their lives. And like, I'm so grateful that like I've had that, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's been some things.
It's a gift.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I didn't get so fucked up after the Bowery Ballroom show, because like I had like written that down when I was like 24 or 25. And I was like, okay, if I could do all this stuff by the time that I'm 30 years old, like I'll be a success. Like I did almost all of it. And like, I still don't feel like a fucking success, you know, like, but I don't think I'm ever gonna feel like that, you know. So it's just like fight, you win some, you lose some. There may be huge budgets, there may be no budgets, but like being in it, I think is like the greatest privilege like a human being can have. Like even being part of the conversation, you know what I mean? Like even being able to sit down with someone who I've like looked up to for so long and like have you like listen to my 2 cents when it comes to your thing. Like there is no bigger compliment for me, you know, like you could pay me all the money in the world tomorrow and it wouldn't mean anything compared to like admiration or respect from people who like didn't have to give it to me. You know what I mean? Like you have to earn respect from people and it's hard to do, you know? Sorry, rant over,
No,
but
that's
like
good. The innocence to experience is so. I also I hate being wet. Let me see where. We're at an hour.
dope.
All right, so we could call it. That's good. Good work. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'll plug my Instagram at EBSOLLIS and my company's website, sunflower.com, www.sunflowwwer.com. And I just wanted to like say to you, because we have amazing conversations, like, and I didn't want to forget it. It's like my most important journey with you is like finding everybody who is paying attention to you, everyone who does have eyes on, whose ears are listening to what you're doing already, and like creating the best possible user experience for them that exists, you know? And if everyone else catches up, great. But for those who are already listening, like this is the place to be, you know? And I'm sure of it.
He's good at this. You'll see. You'll see. Things are gonna change. All right. Thank you, man. I'm gonna hit this stop.
All right.